Hello, can you hear me? Trying to go live, starting the stream health, looking at, here we are. We're going live, and let me hope you can hear me. I wired in. The reason you see a different background is I had to hardwire. You can't see it on camera, but I had to hardwire from my router, and my Ethernet cable is too short, so I had to set up here in front of the TV. But yeah, I'm here. I'm going to type some stuff in and see who's out there. Stream health is really good. Currently, no one is watching, so this is exciting and really working out. Yeah. We've got it all going in there. Oh, hey, Kristen Nye. How you doing? Ofuentes 11, hello, sir, to you. What is up? Thank you for joining me on a Super Chat Sunday. Tweeted this out. Hopefully some people will join in. And hi, Graham. I don't know what you mean by that's not true. Stacy Lamb is here. Hello, Stacy. Is the stream quality good? Looks like it's good. I hardwired it. So there's no... Karen Sheets says hi. Good to see you. The streaming is good. Everything working out. Jacob Kirkpatrick, what's up though? Ready for some Russia questions, Ofuentes 11? Yeah, man, I'm a Kremlin puppet. So that's my surfboard right there, if you can see that. There's my, oh no, wrong one. That's my surfboard. That's my Buddha. That's my, wait, it's a reverse camera. God, this is weird. That's my DVD. Well, mainly my girlfriend's DVD collection. She's got a big DVD collection. You're right, Kristen and I. Now people are watching. So, better than last week? Good. Yeah, it says the live stream. So what I did was I hardwired it. That's why I'm here. Because my router is right behind my TV. And I don't have a long Ethernet cable. I had a bunch of long Ethernet cables. I got rid of them like a year ago before I started the YouTube channel. So now here we are. Yes, that's my red Kremlin puppet surfboard. I go surfing with Putin, and we talk about how we are going to overthrow Hillary. That's what this is all about. So yes, I'm a Kremlin puppet. What's going on? And what are your questions? What do we want to talk about today? I'm glad the streaming health is good. I'll go into. I was on Aggressive Progressive, and Jimmy and I talked about the Seth Meyers. So talk about that. All right, here's some questions. All right, Karen Sheets, do you think the money connects Trump to Russia? Danny Knapp put something in Russian. Outstanding. Oh, Danny Knapp, Kremlin puppet, guys. There he is. Karen Sheets, your question is a very valid question. Here's my guess of what is going on in terms of Trump and Russia. I think he's done business with Russia. Obviously, he has. I think the Comey thing, it's like we did it on Aggressive Progressive. They had that guy who I forget who was on MSNBC that got fired about Occam's razor, and it goes, the most obvious answer is probably what it is, which is he fired Comey because Comey had information on him or was investigating him. So I think there's money connecting Trump to Russia, and just because it's a very complex thing, and just because the left, the corporate Democrats use the Russia thing as a red baiting and as a big smokescreen doesn't mean there isn't something there. The reason they're using it is because they don't want to take responsibility that their election is rigged and that they're corporate as well. So, but it doesn't mean there isn't something there. I think it's showing how awful and corrupt everyone is, because Bill Clinton has done business in Russia. As was reported, I've talked about this numerous times in the New York Times. The Clinton Foundation sold plutonium to Russian business people through the Clinton Foundation. So I think it's all a big, filthy, corrupt thing, and how it's going to be used and who uses it what to manipulate whom, that's the big question, in my opinion. So, no blue light. Hello, comrades. Extreme Islamic Trumpism. Kristen Nye, I love how the news acts like the Saudi Arabia had nothing to do with 9/11. Oh no, of course they're not going to say that. And the main thing they talked about was Trump had steak and ketchup. And on the cover of the LA Times, the Sunday LA Times today, was a Trump making deals with the prince. Unbelievable. So Karen Sheets, talk about Seth Richards. Okay, that's a fair question. So I want to go into something that was going down on Twitter a couple days ago after Jimmy and I were on aggressive progressive. So so Jimmy was basically talking about on aggressive progressive that it seems very shady, this thing that got brought up with Seth Richards. Now, some people criticized him and me because they were like, well, Fox is the only news organization that is talking about this, and it just sounds like Fox News going after Democrats and stuff like that. So Fox News obviously is a hilarious right-wing corporate joke. But for me, it wasn't, regardless of whether Fox News thinks that this happened or what they're trying to claim, is kind of irrelevant. For me, the evidence was showing, and I wasn't saying this, and neither was Jimmy. We weren't sitting there on Aggressive Progressive Thursday going, Hillary killed Seth Richards. We weren't saying that. We're just saying there's a lot of very odd stuff. Now, if the problem with Fox News is they might make these connections, but they will refuse to make these type of connections with the right. So that's why Fox News, I can kind of, okay, maybe they're accurate, but they won't ever look to their own side, which is the problem with the two-party system. It's the problem with the corporate media. It's the problem with the red state, blue state stuff. It's like the same thing, like the people on the left, they point to all these evil things that Trump is doing, and he is, but then they won't look at the way that they rigged the election. So for me, the evidence about Seth Richards, we don't know. Now, maybe, but it's just odd to me that, and Julian Assange in that interview that Jimmy showed on Aggressive Progressive, kind of was alluding, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, it seemed like he wasn't going to give up his source, but he was kind of saying Seth Richards was the WikiLeaks whistleblower. And then right after Seth Richards dies, there's no more emails about that. And we don't know, and we may never know, but I'll say this, I wouldn't put it past the Democratic Party at all. They're, as I've talked about numerous times, they are a big evil corporate machine that's they're pro-choice and gay marriage. That's the only difference between them and the Republicans, is those two things, that little sliver that's different. Then everything else is just as corrupt. Hillary has said she said in an interview recently, she supports Trump bombing Syria. She's in favor of that. So that's my view on Seth Richards. And there was a couple people like on Twitter that the one guy was like really mad and was really going after Jimmy, and Jimmy, you're a sellout and you're crazy and you've gone nuts and you're a conspiracy theorist and all this stuff, which is a peculiar response to have, because literally it's just Jimmy's opinion and my opinion. I can't speak necessarily for Jimmy. I know what his opinion is because we've talked about it. We talked about it on Aggressive Progressive, but this is my opinion, that it seems like the DNC could have had something to do with Seth Richards. They can't find a suspect. They have videotape of him getting shot in the back, and the two guys run away and they call it a botch. It just seems odd. It seems peculiar to me. If it doesn't seem peculiar to you, if it seems like a routine burglary gone wrong, then have a different opinion. Then don't agree with me. That's fine. We weren't on Aggressive Progressive saying, this is what happened. These are the facts. They killed him. The DNC killed him. We didn't say that. I'm just saying I wouldn't put it past them because they're just as corrupt as anyone else. So that's my Seth Richards talk. Fuentes 11, if he gets impeached, meaning Trump, I assume, do you see the left going back to sleep? Yeah, I think that's a real problem. I'm concerned, not that I like Trump, but I'm worried that the Republicans have been grooming Mike Pence to be their next guy. Now, we've already seen all these people on the left go, boy, I sure long for the days of Bush. I never thought I'd say that. He's on Ellen. He's all cute and adorable. And that's the problem in America is as long as you're publicly nice and genial and friendly, will excuse or refuse to look at the awful things that you do. Trump is publicly vulgar. He's a vulgar guy. He's a misogynist. He's racist. He's awful. He says all these things. He's a crybaby. Bush and Obama were nice and friendly, and Obama, is all educated and Bush is all shucks and had that fake Southern accent because he grew up in Massachusetts or whatever. So that's my fear, is if they do impeach Trump, the Democrats should want to keep Trump in there because Mike Pence will come in and he'll be very nice and polite and he's a nice slick and everyone will long back to the days of Reagan and boy, he brought honor back to the White House, and the left will fall asleep. That's my fear. They'll stop going to the town hall meetings. They'll stop holding purity tests because the corporate Democrats will go, we can make deals with this guy. That's my fear if they impeach Trump. You almost need Trump in there because Mike Pence, and if the Democrats don't get a real progressive, which they're shitting on Tulsi Gabbard. She said she wouldn't accept super PAC money, and they're already jumping all over her. They call her, she's pro-Assad. And that just happened on Twitter like yesterday or 2 days ago. So that's what I fear, the left will fall asleep because Trump is an easy thing to people to rally behind. Mike Pence won't say stupid, crazy shit on Twitter. He'll do awful things. He'll try to shock the gay out of people, and he's one of these crazy Christians that wants the apocalypse or whatever, so Jesus comes back, whatever crazy nonsense. So, yeah, it's a good question, Fuentes 11, and I'm afraid of it as well. All right. So, Bartley Truehill, will you do stand-up in Portland? I'd love to. The Helium Comedy Club, email them. It's all about ticket sales with stand-up comedy. So if my name on the marquee, I need to be able to sell a lot of tickets. So if a lot of people tell that comedy club in that town, in this instance, Portland, we'll come see Graham Elwood. If you book him here, that helps the cause. I love Portland, man. I love Portland. It's a great city. Jason Kirkpatrick, Seth Richards, Trump traveling to Saudi Arabia, and Jared Kushner's arms deal. Yeah, so I just talked about Seth Richards. Trump traveling to Saudi Arabia and Jared Kushner's arms deal, as again, it's in the Los Angeles Times, the cover of the LA Times, talking about Jared and Trump, and they're making good deals, and they're questioning it a little bit, but they're never, the corporate media is never going to call out Saudi Arabia for who they really are. If the corporate media called out Saudi Arabia, pointed out all their atrocities and human rights things the way they do Syria, we'd have a little different world in here, but they won't. Trump is playing ball. Trump was calling out Saudi Arabia during the primary. When he called out the Republicans. And see, here's the thing. Trump came to office and they said, we don't care, do your travel ban, try to get your wall built. The travel ban hasn't happened. It's been blocked twice. But you better play ball with the petrodollar and the military-industrial complex and all that anti-war. And he criticized Obama for all these wars. And he criticized Jeb Bush's dad for being in league with Saudi Arabia. And why are we doing business with them? But the minute he starts playing ball, this is part of it. The Saudis, that's the whole reason for the Syrian oil pipeline. I've done videos on that. And, Jared Kushner and Ivana are not elected officials that are running this country. Isn't that great? Alex Ratliff, if he gets impeached, it's Mike Pence's Christian theocracy. Yeah, that's exactly. That's a legitimate fear we should all have, is Mike Pence. But he'll be nice and polite and kind, and everyone will go back to sleep like they did with Obama and like they did with Bush. Karen Sheets, why is Saudi Arabia on the UN Council for Women? Oh, God. Yeah, that's a great question. Which women are treated like second-class citizens and like dogs and animals in some cases in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi regime, they can do whatever they want. They'll jail you without beat you, kill you, torture you, whatever. And they're on the UN Council, which just shows with that much money, oil money, they can buy their way into anything. And our military protects them. So that's where our tax dollars goes, to protect those fine folks. Fuentes 11, it's almost like a house of cards. Yeah, it's true. Somebody posted, I'm assuming you're referring to Trump. If they impeach Trump, it's Pence. If Pence is impeached, it's Tillerson. Like they just went down the line. Then it's Betsy DeVos or whoever the lineage is, and it's one awful person after another. So it's almost like the left needs to not impeach him and just hold him accountable and get a real progressive to run against him in 2020. We'll see. It's another reason why to primary all these corporate Democrats in 2018. Christofferson Kavekos. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Hey, Graham, what elected official are you looking at more to lead the progressive movement? Bernie, Nina Turner, Tulsi Gabbard, or Ro Khanna? Well, I'm thinking it's going to be Tulsi, but to just lead the progressive movement within the Democratic Party, it's everybody you just listed. So, but Tulsi, just as I said, came out and publicly said on Twitter, I'm not going to take any super PAC money. Of course, she got shit for it. I like Tulsi in the sense that she's for legalizing marijuana on the federal level. So like medical marijuana is legal in California. You can literally order it and have it delivered to your house, but it can't be delivered through the U.S. mail because that is a federal crime. But it's delivered by like Uber type delivery driver people. There's a lot of she also is smart enough to realize there's a lot of tax revenue the federal government could make. They should legalize marijuana recreationally in every state, tax it, get a lot of revenue that could help a lot of things. Colorado is a fine example. Their schools are getting more money. They're getting a lot more money for social programs. They're talking about building housing in Colorado, from what I've understood. So that's why I like Tulsi Gabbard and her questioning us bombing in Syria. And then, of course, she's immediately called, oh, she's an Assad, she's pro-Assad, she's in favor of chemical weapons. It's unbelievable how quickly the corporate Democrats just go after her. And who can stand up? She's the one I think can stand up because it's like, oh, she's pro-Assad? She fought in the Iraq war. She tweeted, I had friends that died that didn't come home from Iraq. I don't want to do another regime change. Can Debbie Wasserman Schultz argue that? That's why I think it's Tulsi. And she's a surfer, and I'm a surfer with my Kremlin puppet surfboard. But I think all of them together need to get together. Karen Sheets, if they get rid of Trump, will the DNC try to squash progressives? Oh, yeah. Well, the DNC, Karen, they are trying to squash progressives no matter what. If they get rid of Trump, the DNC will look, we won, guys. So everybody just line up. Yeah, don't forget that DNC lawsuit. Forget about it. Just everybody line up. Keep donating to the Democratic Party. See, we resisted. We won. That's what they'll do. And a lot of people on the left will buckle or just do that because they're not paying attention. It's a great question. Dax Jacobson. Trump keeps tripping on his dick. Pence will get a lot of evil shit done quickly. Yeah, that's another good point. Trump is not a politician. He's a silver spoon trust fund jackass that has failed upwards, who's used to just showing up and making a couple announcements, as a CEO, and then he goes to the goddamn golf course and a fundraiser for his crooked foundation that's just as crooked as the Clinton Foundation. Pence will know Pence is more dangerous in my opinion because he will know how to get it done way more quietly. And Trump didn't pick Pence as his running mate. The GOP did. That's another reason why Trump is actually we may need him to stay in there because Pence is more dangerous. That's a great point. Jacob Kirkpatrick, Mike Pence has his own PAC now, right? I mean, separate from Trump's campaign management. Yes, I did hear that Pence is starting his own PAC because he's like, yeah, they're going to impeach him and I'm ready to go. You know, he's ready to go. Bring decency back to the party, back to the party. So that's the thing that's feared. There's a bunch of you watching now. If you want to do the Super Chat thing, you can pay to get your thing, and it's a great way to support the show. Those of you last time that did it helped pay for the software that I bought to do this, so now we have better streaming. So thank you. That's a great way to support the show if you guys want to get your, because there's a bunch of them coming up here now. Karen Sheets, he's just as evil as Trump. Pence, yeah, of course. He's the thing with Pence, he's just nice and polite, and he's not going to flip out. He's going to toe the party line. He's like George Bush and George Bush's dad, and he's going to, and Obama, and just part of that corporate pro-war, pro-banking machine. Only Pence has a crazy right-wing Christian agenda that he'll try to push through, which makes him way more dangerous. As evil and crazy as Trump is, the long game, it's better to keep Trump in there to get a real progressive in 2020 and change the whole country around, in my opinion. Where are we at here? Contribute to Tulsi, Karen Sheets is saying. That's a good point. Hold on. Where are we at? Jeremy Chase. I just had a great bracelet commercial. You can get one for a steal at $3,800. I don't know what that is. Thanks, Jeremy. KFMCF. This, I need bigger. So who just did that? Dax Jacobson. You just gave $15, dude. Thank you so much, Dax. You're awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the show, dude. You guys are fantastic, man. So this is fantastic. What's your question, Dax? Do you have a question? I'll go right to yours. While we wait for Dax to come up with a question, thank you for supporting the show. Some of I'm seeing a lot of the same names. You guys, this is cool, and I'm going to try to do this every Sunday, depending on my schedule. But I really like doing this. And now that we're getting good streaming quality, it'll also be anyone can watch it later and get all of the questions answered. So let me go to this question that Dax Jacobson had. Trump keeps, you just wrote that, Trump keeps tricking on his dick, Dax. KMSEF, why do you think Bernie didn't stand up to the DNC when they rigged the elections against him and there was proof? Man, is that a great question, and one of the disappointing things about Bernie. I think Bernie still likes being invited to the party. He gets to be put on these, committees, and he's accepted. If he would have just said, all right, you cheated me, I'm running as an independent against Hillary and Trump, and let's say Trump still won, then he would be ostracized by insiders and treated like Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader did that in 2000. People blamed him, which I thought was bullshit. I voted for Gore in 2000, but any of my friends were like, oh, Ralph Nader ruined it. I go, it's not Ralph Nader's fault that Gore ran a shitty campaign, but he would be treated like Ralph Nader. He would be treated like a complete jackass. Like they'd be, they would have treated Bernie and he would be isolated. He'd be stuck up in Vermont and they would completely lock him out. And I think that's what Bernie is afraid of, which is a bummer, because I wish he would just say fuck it. I'm hoping that if the Democrats don't get their shit together and they don't get behind a real progressive like Tulsi or Nina or somebody like that, that Bernie goes, okay, now I'm running it as an independent in 2020. That's my hope. So, thanks for that question. Jake, DNC's silence on Saudi deal. Yeah, the DNC, that's part of their thing. Obama did deals. Hillary did deals with Saudi. No, they're not going to speak up. The corporate Democrats are not going to speak up against any of the giant corporations or illegal or crooked deals. It was Obama that started the illegal war in Yemen in 2010 that was at the behest of the Saudi Arabians. So the DNC is not going to badmouth that. They're never going to talk on that. Jeremy, yes, thank you on that. Karen Sheets, clip his wings and get Dems in. Jeremy Chase, hold up, Graham. I don't treat my dog as bad as Saudi treat their women. Okay, you have a dog in your icon. My apologies if you're a big dog owner. Michelle Robinson, I just wanted to say hi, Graham. Well, hi to you, Michelle, and thank you so much for watching and supporting the show. Dax Jacobson just asked Jeremy Chase, do you let your dog vote? Thanks, Dax, for supporting the show and asking that very pointed question. That's the kind of real discussion and debate we need here on the Political Vigilante. Dax Jacobs asked Jeremy Chase, do you let your dog drive without you being in the car? I mean, there's some pretty smart dogs out there. If it's a border collie, they could probably do that. Karen Sheets, right, contribute to Tulsi. Danny Knapp, other than Jimmy, what comedians and entertainers do you like? There's a bunch of comedians and podcasters that I like. Todd Glass, he has a great podcast. Jackie Cation, I like her podcast. Jackie, she's definitely on the Hillary side of things politically, but in terms of just a funny comedian, she's very funny. There's not a lot of comics out there really being, if you're asking about political, like talking on the progressive side of things, the way like Jimmy and myself are, there's not a lot doing that, which is a little disappointing, but there's still very funny people nonetheless. Laurie Kilmartin is very funny. Baron Vaughn is a very funny comic. Many of these people we've had on my podcast, Comedy Film Nerds. So they're cool. Remember, guys, if you support to the Super Chat, I'll answer your question. It'll be put to the top of the list. Mark Chambers. Tulsi and Bernie on the same ticket. Bernie as vice president. As vice or president, either is okay. Yeah, Mark, I think I agree. It has to be something like that. If Tulsi ran and she was the president and Bernie was the VP, man, would they clean up. Because any of that from the center or conservatives who are like, oh, Bernie's too crazy, socialist, you'd have an Iraq vet going, that would help bring in the conservatives. I think her being an Iraq vet is so key to getting the middle of the country. But Bernie is already, trying to get the middle of the country. He did that. He's done those town halls and stuff. So if you had the two of them going, that would be fantastic. Or Nina Tulsi, or, that would be fantastic, in my opinion. Yeah, you're right, Mark. Tulsi does remove the age issue. And it would be cool if she was the first female president. I'd love to see a female president, but an actual progressive. It's funny, the Hillary people that are like, oh, if you didn't vote for Hillary, you hate women. It's like, oh, so then I should vote. Like if Michelle Bachmann were to run for president, I should vote for her? No. Give me a progressive. I'll get behind it. And it would also be great if Tulsi won, because then it would also it would shut up that wing of the Hillary supporters who were like, oh, it was just misogyny. That was the only reason, that and the Russians and all these other excuses. It'd be like, no, America's totally ready to have a female president, just not a pro-war corporate liar. Trina, fine. Hey, just a little late. Well, better late than never. All right, Jeremy and Dax. Jeremy, he's just joking around. Settle down. Yes. All right. I'm not going to, if you guys want to have your own thing, that's fine. MPMC, did you the Mayor West throwdown? Bill Mayer Wheat throwdown. I don't understand that question. Be more specific. Karen Sheets, what about Elizabeth Warren? Why is she supporting talking up Hillary? That's the problem with Elizabeth Warren. I think she's said and done some good things, but the big question, why didn't she run in 2016? Elizabeth Warren should have run. So she was either intimidated by the Clintons or promised something, you'll be big in the cabinet or something like that. Because Elizabeth Warren should have won. She could be our president right now. But she keeps staying with, that's my problem with she's like, born into wealth, Elizabeth Warren, and she still plays too much ball with the corporate Democrats. And that's my fear, is that she's another fake progressive that tricks us. And we go, oh, Elizabeth Warren, man, she fights the good fight. And then just like Obama, remember? 2008, we need hope and change, man. 8 years of Bush and the Republicans, this is awful. Oh, Obama's going to come in and change. Nope. So that's my fear with an Elizabeth Warren. Jeremy Chase, your pit bull could have beaten Trump. Yep. MPMC, blokes like John Oliver, Trevor Noah, Colbert are deep in the establishment. Yeah. If that's what you meant. Yeah, of course. Because look at them. And some of them, like John Oliver's done some cool stuff. He did a great, he's done some good stuff. But then they're still millionaires being hired by giant multinational conglomerates. Right? So I'd gladly take one of those jobs as a comedian. And if I did, I'd still do this show and say what I wanted. If they let me, or I'd tell them no or something, I don't know. But they're paid millions of dollars, and then, Noam Chomsky talks about it, you start self-censoring. Well, I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me. I'll play ball. I don't want to say that. You're in the writer's room or something, and someone, suggests something, I don't know, that might ruffle feathers. You start doing stuff like that. Let alone you do a story that ruffles some feathers and a producer sits you down and goes, let's talk about this instead. And they'll pull your contract. Bill Maher, on Politically Incorrect, called the drone strike pilots in the Iraq War. He called them cowards. Took a lot of heat. ABC canned him. A couple years later, he comes back. Now he's playing ball. You can criticize the Trump and the right, but you can't criticize the war machine. You can't do stories on Yemen or anything like that. John Oliver did that, but then John Oliver also did a story about, linking Jill Stein to Russia, and her donations went down, and John Oliver's network is, run by people that support Hillary. So the big corporate comedians, man, they have too much to lose. They can't rock the boat. They got too much to lose. Jeremy Chase, Todd Glass is fucking awesome. Listen to his podcast. It's hilarious. I've been on it a bunch. Jake, is the situation unbearable? Oops, wrong show again. Oh, you're doing that. All right. Jake has been talking about that thing on on Twitter. Good to have you, Jake. Karen Sheets, over 200 years it has taken for this country to consider a female president. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And it's time. We should absolutely have a female president. It's got to be a real progressive, though. It's got to be a real progressive. For me to get behind it, personally. I'm only going to get behind a real progressive, whoever it is. I want to get behind a real progressive, and I want a group of real progressive. That's why I like, as the earlier question, if Bernie and Nina and Tulsi... and even Roe, although there's some people saying Roe might be more, fake progressive with corporate interests. I don't know. I haven't done enough research on them, so it's hard for me to comment on that. But I want a group of real progressives to get together. And that's what I want to get behind. And I would love it if it was like Tulsi Gabbard or Nina Turner or something. Somebody. They got to be a real progressive and not buckle. Jacob Rose, what do you think about the need for decentralization of media control regarding Main Street media, then even YouTube and Twitter's centralized control? I'd love to see it. I'd love to see everything get broken up. We need to go back. In the old days, there was independent every newspaper and local TV channel was independent. You had local newspaper reporters and local TV reporters and radio reporters out there finding stories. And it would be great if it got broken up. The bank, everything. There's 6 multinational conglomerates that own 95% of all media? I'd love to see that broken up. And that would be, then we'd go back to getting real journalism. I'd love to see that. I did not see the Bill Maher Cornell West throwdown. I would like to, though. Forest Fire 93. Don't forget Dave Anthony. Oh yeah, David, you're right. That's a good one. I know Dave, and we're friends, and we work together on the LA Podfest. Dave is out there, and his podcast, The Dollop. It's a history podcast, but he does extensive research for each episode, and it really relates to. He finds a lot of shit that happened historically and how it's led us here. It's a really cool, and he has a lot of progressive messages behind his thing. So Forest Fire 93, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, Dave Anthony, check that out. The Dollop was one of the podcasts that will be at the 2017 Los Angeles Podcast Festival. Jimmy Dore Show is going to be there. And a bunch of other podcasts. Go to, I'll type it in the thing right now, lapodfest.com. KFM Seth. What is your stance on the Ro Khanna being a wolf in sheep's clothing or fake progressive since campaign managers sucked up to the Hillary camp by saying they were good at raising money and he's pro-TPP? That's a good question. And it's something we all need to pay attention to because we got to really do as much of our own research as possible because on the one hand, you've got somebody like Tulsi Gabbard. She starts making noise, and then, oh man, she's called Islamophobe. She's called an Islamophobe and pro-Assad. She's in favor of chemical. They do all this stuff because she's a progressive making noise. But then you might have someone who's a fake progressive, and maybe Ro Khanna is a fake progressive. I don't know, but it's worth. We should all be doing our own research to figure that out because we shouldn't just. I know we're all hungry. We're for a real progressive to all get behind. So we're quick to go, oh, Ro Khanna, yeah, I just heard about that guy. He's awesome. And we all want to jump on board. But I think we all got to be patient and do our own research and see. Because if he's starting to get all Hillary, I'd be careful. We'll see what happens. Because sometimes they talk that progressive game and then they get higher up. They get close to real power. And then the real power goes, this is how it's going to be. And they go, oh, okay. Obama talking that hope and change in the 2008 green energy. He said, we're going to green. And then all of a sudden on his campaign trails, green, and, solar and wind and clean coal, he mentioned, just kind of threw that in there, clean coal. And I was like, oh, someone in his campaign or the Democratic Party went, we need Pennsylvania. We need coal country. So it's a great question to ask about Ro Khanna, and we should all be paying close attention to who he really is. And also because if he's real see who's criticizing, where the criticism is coming from. If the criticism comes from corporate Democrats, they're probably a real progressive. If the criticism is coming from progressives and he's getting support from corporate Democrats, then maybe he's a corporate Democrat. Kuljian. Bernie has introduced a really important bill. Check out the U.S. Senators' employee-owned business is the way forward. All right, that's cool. I'll check that out. I haven't heard this much about that. Serpentine Sam, what do you think about Bill Mayer's criticism of voters who didn't bring themselves to vote for Hillary? It's more of that bullshit. It's more of, first of all, it's the idea of look how evil Trump is and all of this, lesser of two evils. He's doing, first of all, what she said in that interview where she kind of started to take responsibility and then didn't. It's also, there's a lot of false things with that. Like people say if Hillary was in office, we wouldn't have the travel ban. Yeah, there isn't a travel ban. It's been voted down twice. We wouldn't have the wall. There is no wall. It hasn't been approved. There's a fence that Bush and Obama helped build. There's private prisons down in Texas that Obama helped build. We would be bombing Syria if Hillary was president. Obama deported millions of people, just like Trump is doing. Hillary would keep doing that. We would still have, she's in favor of fracking and pipelines, so we would still have Dakota Access Pipeline. We would be, as I said, bombing Syria for that pipeline. Banks would still be unregulated. There would be Goldman Sachs people in her cabinet. So there's this misconception from the left that we wouldn't have all this stuff if Hillary was in office. It wouldn't be as egregious. You know what? We wouldn't be defunding Planned Parenthood, for sure. And gay marriage would still be intact. And they would probably still be keeping Obamacare, which is a Republican that was Romney care. So it wouldn't be that different. And anyone the Bill Maher's of the world that say that, those are the people that are still thinking Obama was amazing when he wasn't that great and he did a lot of awful things. You know, we went from 2 wars to 7 wars with Obama. Hillary would still be bombing the shit out of the Middle East. So it's more nonsense from Bill Maher. He's a fucking fake liberal. He's rich Hollywood privilege. And he toes the corporate Democrat Party line, which waves portrays itself as left. He's such a left liberal. No, he's not. He's part of the machine. He's not a rabble rouser in the slightest. If he was, he'd be going after Obama and Hillary. He wouldn't be supporting her. He's a shithead. Karen Sheets, what do you think about not-for-profits like MoveOn.org? I think there's some value to them. That some of those organizations have helped me keep aware about like smaller things that Trump and his gang are trying to do. They can get hijacked pretty easily by the corporate Dems, and that's my fear of them. But many of those organizations have like, I didn't know this bill was being passed or whatever. They're trying to get that legislation. So they're worth. You got to look at everything with a skeptical eye. But if it is a legitimate non-for-profit that is really doing decent work, like the ACLU, even if you don't agree with everything that they do, they are fighting for people. They helped Chelsea Manning get out earlier. She was supposed to have 35 years in prison. She did 7. So some of them are worth supporting. Jeremy Chase. Okay, where are we at here? Let me just scroll back up. Don't forget, if you guys do this, pay money in the super chat, you can get, because there's a lot of comments now, and I'm trying to get through as many of them as I can. Phil Britton, TYT probably turned on more people to be involved in politics. Us, the media, by all means necessary. The media is the message. Marshall Mulkenbook. I'm sure I mispronounced that. All right. Thanks for that information, Phil. MPMC, Green Day's American Idiot, did a great song about the shitty media that led us to the Iraq War. Yeah, but the so-called liberals there. Well, I mean, the best example of that is how the left reacted to Syria a month or so ago. How the left was praising Syria, and still is. It had to be done. You know, Fareed Zakaria saying Trump became president today. Wolf Blitzer like, whoa, kind of arguing with Tulsi Gabbard, and she's like, why are we doing regime change? It doesn't work. We should get a real investigation. How do we know that this is true? Wolf Blitzer was like, because the Department of Defense said so. She's like, what? The journalist should be asking those questions, not a politician. It's unbelievable. Just look how the corporate media reacts. That's the key. You watch the corporate media to see how they react and how they treat people, and then you know what the real agenda is. Fuentes 11. Here's a small conspiracy for you. Bernie can't go against the Dems because he will end up like JFK. I mean, JFK said I'd like to break the CIA up into 1,000 pieces. there's some conspiracy theorists that say every president that tried to end the Federal Reserve was killed or died or something like that. I don't want to be a paranoid conspiracy theorist, and any conspiracy theorist, oh, that's it, and because then you can just go down this. I think if you're too much into the conspiracy theories, then you're easily susceptible to getting manipulated, and you'll just kind of believe anything that's thrown at you, and I don't want to do that. But so I don't know about Bernie. If he's worried that he's going to get killed, he might. I don't know. He's a guy in his 70s. He might I don't give a shit. I'm going to die soon anyway. But I will say this: the Bernie thing aside, if you go against the real powerful, the military-industrial complex, you better be careful. They might kill you. They might come after you. Danny Knapp just paid to get to the top. Thank you, Danny. Thank you for supporting the show. People are saying purity test, but what's the difference between purity test and qualifications? How can I vote for a war hawk or something and then say I'm against war? Well, that's an interesting question. People are saying purity test, but what's the difference between purity test and qualifications? How can I vote for a war hawk or something and then say I'm against war? Well, to me, there's qualifications, but what's under qualifications, the specifics of qualifications, is how have they voted in the past? Not necessarily what they said on their Twitter feed, but what legislation have they gotten behind? Who did they vote against? Like with Trump's cabinet, all those people that just, was it 14 Democrats that voted for Mike Pompeo? Those are the kind of purity tests I want to see. Those are the ones that I think are real, and that to me is part of the qualification. I put them as sort of the same thing. My qualification for you is, did you pass this purity test? Did you rubber stamp awful people? And when the Democrats would say, yeah, but we knew we couldn't, there was more Republicans, we knew we were going to lose. Yeah, all the more reason for you to take a principled stance, to vote with your conscience. I voted for Jill Stein out of my conscience. I could not vote for Hillary. I just couldn't do it. Now, I lived in California. I knew California was going to vote for Hillary. Had I lived in a swing state, I don't know. I might have gone at the last minute. I might have gone Hillary just to stop Trump because I was so worried about him at that time. But ultimately, I said, fuck it, I'm voting for my conscience. So I think that's important. And I want to see purity tests. I don't want to hear Kamala Harris go, oh, stop with the purity test. She didn't prosecute Steve Mnuchin when she was Attorney General of the state of California. So, yeah, Dianne Feinstein voted for Mike Pompeo while her Twitter feed was all like, no more torture, and she voted for a pro-torture guy. So those are the qualifications that I'm looking for, Danny. Those are the ones I really want to see if I'm going to give somebody my vote and then publicly get behind them. So that's how I do it. Thank you for supporting the show, man. Jimmy Dore Show just gave $10. Shout out to Jimmy Dore. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com. He's got a bunch of live shows coming up. We're doing tomorrow in Burbank at Flappers. He's got a show June 10th. I'm not on that show, but it's in Chicago if you're in the Chicago area. Check that out. jimmydorecomedy.com. Sorry, Jimmy, no blue light. I couldn't get the blue light set up because I had to hardwire the thing. Ofuentes11 just gave $20. Ofuentes, you're awesome, dude. Thank you so much for supporting this. You guys, it's so cool what you're letting me do. You've helped me, like just this live stream. Your guys' donations last week helped me get this software so we can do this live stream. We're not having any buffering issues. I haven't seen anybody go, wow, Graham, you're cutting up, which is awesome. You guys are doing this. You guys are helping make this show great. These lights, right? You guys help support to get these going. Thank you, Ofuentes11. You're fantastic. Jimmy Dore, I already paid $10, but forgot to add my question. My question is, where is the fucking blue light? All right, Jimmy. All right. Hold the fuck on. Hold on. I don't know how to do the blue light. Hold on. This is the Batman photo, by the way. And then I just put this underneath it. There. There's your fucking blue light, Jimmy. Right there. Right there. All right, you son of a bitch. There's your goddamn blue light. All right, I'll try to fix the set for the next time. Jesus. Unbelievable with this guy. Oh, you guys are fantastic. You guys are fantastic. Karen Sheets. Thank you so much for supporting it, Karen Sheets. Trump campaign aide Michael Caputo, communication advisor, is set to question on the investigation. Is set to question on the investigation. All right, yeah, Mike Caputo. So, talking about the Trump, let me look that up for you, Karen. Michael Caputo, Trump aide investigation. So, this is an interesting question. So, this came out 21 hours ago. Actually, well, here's the one in The Guardian. Here's the CNN story. I'll read the CNN story for you. Karen, thank you so much for supporting the show. And here, House panel looks at Trump campaign communications advisor for Russia ties. Oh, boy. Oh, man. As part of its probe into Russian election interference, the House Intelligence Committee has reached out to Donald Trump presidential campaign communications advisor Michael Caputo. The House panel has requested that Caputo produce certain documents and other materials to the committee and participate in a voluntary transcribed interview at the committee's offices. Oh, God. This sounds just more like bullshit, flim-flam, kangaroo court. A copy of a letter obtained by CNN. The CNN story, I'm sure, is just like doing that he said, she said, and they think that's news. They're not asking tough questions. They're just saying, well, these are the facts. You decide, because we're corporate shills. So the House panel asked that Caputo submit any documents and materials by Monday that reasonably could lead to the discovery of any facts within the investigation's publicly announced parameters. Caputo has complied with the committee's request for documents. A source familiar with the material said. The committee said an interview could entail discussing Russian cyber activities directed against the 2016 election, potential links between Russia and individuals associated with political campaigns, the U.S. government's response to these Russian active measures, and related leaks of classified information. The FBI and both chambers of Congress are investigating whether there were improper contacts between Trump associates and Russia during the 2016 election. Man. So that's a cool thing. I'll actually put this article for you guys to read. So, Karen, thanks for bringing that up. That'll be interesting. I don't know if this is actually going to be a real interview, a real interrogation, or a real investigation, or if this is just more like, yeah, we'll get this guy in here and we'll see what's happening. I really feel like this is... I don't have faith that it's going to be real. It feels like sort of the Warren Commission that Gerald Ford was on after JFK got assassinated that just sort of swept that under the rug. I don't see anything real coming from this. Unless Trump has pissed off the intelligence community so much that this is how they're going to go after him. I don't know. But Trump seems very willing to play ball, so I don't trust it. Jimmy Dore just put, yay! Yes, buddy, there's your blue light. Enjoy it. I'll see you tomorrow. What else do we got here? Phil Britton, nickel and dime door. More donations, please. You're up. Carrot sheets, yes. I'm glad you guys like the mood lighting. Now we're all talking about the blue light. Fantastic. All right. So, Triana, be fine. Can we take bets on how long this investigation will last? Where is Ken Starr? He knows how to dog someone. Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. I think this is just going to be, I don't think anything real is going to come out of this other than just maybe more of the corporate state showing their hand about what they're really trying to do, what the end game of all this really is. So that'll be really interesting to see because I don't have faith in it. But thank you, Karen Sheets, for that question. Dax Jacobson, yeah, they always seem to know when to crush the little guy in response. Yeah, that's what'll happen probably. If anyone does get prosecuted, it'll be like some guy like Michael Caputo or something. They'll play that. It's always like anytime there's a big scandal that goes all the way to the top, they'll get a mid-level person and say that person acted on their own. They did, they went rogue. So that's what'll happen. Fuentes 11, will you and Jimmy come to Phoenix and do a live show? Also, the NSA is watching us. Yeah, we'll come to Phoenix. Jimmy, let's go to Phoenix. And the NSA can watch us in Phoenix. I've also said to Jimmy we should do a show in Flint since we, been covering it. He's been covering it so much on Aggressive Progressive and what Jordan Cheriton is doing. We should do a show in Flint. Let's go on the road, Jimmy. Come on, buddy. I'll bring the goddamn blue light. We'll make it happen. Dog and Pony Show time in D.C., Phil Britton writes. Karen Sheets, the cyber attack, who do you think is behind it, and speculate what is their goal? With regard to the election, I'm assuming, Karen. I think what happened, there's a bunch of things were happening. So the WikiLeaks showed how corrupt the Clintons and the Democrats were. And the hacking was just showing what the Russians are willing to do. But I'll give you this speculation. The hacking could have been done by our own CIA. I have no evidence to suggest this. This is just me theorizing. But it's not. You can't put it past the CIA. The CIA could be doing this as some sort of long-term thing because one of the things we've definitely seen is this kind of ramping up to a third world war, or at least the getting back to the Cold War, because the Cold War was good for defense contractors. That was good money. That was a cash cow for defense contractors. So I think there's a lot of that. Oh, Russia, Putin. But also it just shows how corrupt the global landscape is. Everybody's done business with the Russians because the Russians have oil and they're trying to get more oil and sell it. And oil is the name of the game. And Putin is also ex-KGB, so I wouldn't put it past him either. And the KGB was notorious for getting dirt on people. The KGB had everything was wired with cameras and sound back in the 60s and 70s, let alone now when you can have real small cameras. So I wouldn't be surprised. It's hard for me to just say I definitely think it's this because there's so much noise surrounding it. But when the corporate Dems, the Hillary people, bring it up, it's because they're wanting to deflect the fact that they rigged the primary. So they don't want to own that. And Trump is trying to deflect the fact that maybe he did do business with them. Maybe they did hijack stuff. Maybe they did interfere with the election. And if they did, that's really messed up. But I'd love to see America take responsibility for all the elections we fucking rigged. Like, that's the thing. America will not take responsibility for any of it. I'd love to see that happen. But that's a great question, Karen. Yes. So, Skeeter, didn't Sweden drop the rape charges against Assange? Yes, I just read that. So they dropped the charges. What Julian Assange has been saying for a long time is, I'll go to Sweden provided Sweden guarantees that I won't be extradited to the United States. Sweden will not guarantee that, so he will not go. Because he said there was 2 women, one dropped her charges, and the second woman is still holding the charges, and Julian is like, I'm willing to stand trial for this. So, look, rape is an awful thing. If he did do this, he needs to go to jail. I don't care how many whistles he's blown, he needs to go to jail. But I also have to ask the question, it seems odd that this guy who, he's releasing this information about very powerful people, and right then this charge comes. While he's hiding out in the embassy, it happens because it was all about the U.S. is doing whatever they can to get him extradited. They need to shut him up. They need to shut down his whole operation. So, again, if he committed that awful crime, he needs to go to jail. But it's very telling for me, at least, that he's like, yeah, I absolutely want to stand trial. Let's get to this. But you can't extradite me to the U.S. So if they really wanted to just get to the truth of that trial, then Sweden would say that, unless they're so pressured by the U.S. that they can't. So it's interesting. Karen, yes, we'd love to come to Flint. Phil Britton, Jordan did do heroic work reporting Standing Rock and the Comcast media shit. I mean, what Jordan is doing, those reports that I keep seeing every time I'm on Aggressive Progressive are just, it's sad. I'm impressed that he's out there, but I'm also sad he's the only one. That really bums me out that he's the only one out there, but hats off to him for he's the only one doing real work out there. He's the only one doing real work. So I'm going to be signing off here soon because I gotta head out, but let me read a couple more. Dax Jacobson, Skeeter, statutes of limitations. The UK said he has unpaid parking tickets. He'd been parked in front of the embassy this entire time. He's got 300 parking tickets. Okay. Koljijian, if the Russians had messed with our election, we'd know about it already. Yeah, maybe. That's the thing. It's so hard to say. I look at the people, because, again, if the Russians did interfere, even the corporate media's nonsense, even Rachel Maddow's nonsense, then it's not wrong. It's wrong if people are using that to deflect from other stuff. But I don't know. It's like the whole system is corrupt. The whole system could be a part of this. And that's why the whole system is trying to diffuse and deflect and go after, like Donna Brazil wants us to go to war with Russia because she doesn't want to admit that she's a cheater. So it's hard for me to say. It really is hard for me to say. Sometimes I feel like it's just some 10 moves ahead deep state shit. But they're all valid points. Mark, was Trump elected to make it appear we still have valid elections, but it was actually intentional so they could have a rodeo clown to cause distractions? Yeah. I mean, we're not a democracy. We're a kleptocracy. Corporations run everything. Our democracy is completely fake. 2 parties run it. There's no mention of the 2 parties in the Constitution, which is complete. It's preposterous how our elections are run. It's 1 day a week. It's on a work day. There's all this voter suppression. There's all this gerrymandering. It's a joke. So what did they hack? They hacked an already corrupt thing. It was like in the 1960 election, Nixon was like, he was stuffing ballot boxes in the South so he couldn't accuse JFK of all the dead people in Chicago that voted for him because Sam Giancana, the mob guy, helped get him. Like, they both, like, what am I supposed to say? You out-cheated me? We're both crooks? So that's what it feels like to me. A couple more. Bob TV, what's up, Graham? When are you guys coming to NYC? I'd love to come to New York. I'd love to do a Comedy Film Nerds live podcast there. I'd love to do this there. We should do Jimmy Dore there. I'm all for it. Kirk, the question, what's a single payer plan? Please be specific. Thank you. So single payer, as I understand it, it is basically and I will, what's good for you. Oh, my internet is being super slow because I want to spell it out. I don't want to. Basically, single payer is to get the government to pay for it, as I understand it. So, my internet, my computer's getting really hot. So, that is a good question, and it's really basically saying, as I understand it, that the government, our taxes pay for our health insurance, and there's government health insurance. Like the UK has, from what I understand, is starting to be corrupted by on me, computer. Boo. There's my computer being dumb. Sorry. My computer starts to get hot. Oh, it's getting too hot. I desperately need a new one. Because it's, oh God, I don't want it all to die. Come on. Come on. I'm sure this is riveting video. Me watching my websites freeze up. Oh, shit. Come on. Don't allow. I don't know what happened. Now I can't see YouTube. There we go. Okay. I'm back to YouTube. All right. Sorry. Oh, boy. I got to be somewhere at 5. So it's 4:20. It's 4:20 California time. So actually, I can't get to the root of that question. But you know what I'll do? I'll do a whole video on that. The single payer thing. National healthcare. Yeah. You're going to... Skeeter, RP, Graham's internet. They got him. Yeah, this is the NSA shutting me down. They don't want me to talk about single payer healthcare. But I actually am running out of time, so I apologize. 420 sounds good. Ha ha. Start your own pirate radio station. You guys are hilarious. Well, this has been fantastic, you guys. Thank you, everybody. That Karen Sheets, Ofuentes 11, Jimmy Dore, Danny Knapp, Dax Jacobson, thank you all of you for donating to the show. You guys have been awesome. This is such a cool thing. I'm going to try to do this every Sunday, Super Chat Sunday. If you're in LA, come to Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank tomorrow. And of course, Jimmy's doing a bunch of live shows. Whether I'm on them or not, check them out. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com. And you can go to my Patreon page if you don't already. I'm going to type the link right there below. And you can support me every month and you get free. I'm doing bonus videos at the $10 level. At the $5 level, you can suggest things for me to talk about. So it's another cool way to support the show. But also just coming on here every Sunday and throwing money in is awesome as well. I really appreciate it. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all your comments. You guys are such a cool, engaged, smart audience. It makes me, I've learned a lot from you. I continue to learn a lot from you, and you guys inspire the shit out of me to keep going, because sometimes I read all the news and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrifying. But I want to keep going for you guys. So thank you so much. Thank you for making Gotham great again. Thank you for supporting that blue light, Jimmy Dore, bringing the blue light back. My name's Graham Elwood. This is the Political Vigilante. Signing off.